Another week in league come and gone, and just decided to do a bit different this week. And instead of have a chat about each and every individual game, just going to mix things up a bit and try just getting a bit of talking points out of a couple of the games. Focus on that for the review, and then also just have a chat about a couple of the games coming up for next week's round as well. So, first game to talk about from last week. Just have a brief chat about the Sharks and the Dragons game that was back in Thursday, which seems like a while away now, but just one of those games where once again we've seen one of those leads of the 14-point lead slip. Interestingly, this happened a little bit at the start last year as well. Teams were getting a lead and you'd see them start to come back to the in the game once the time sort of went on and possession evened out. So not too much to worry about so far. As I said, it was a worrying trend that did happen at the start of last year, which did seem to get resolved as the games went on. But for the Sharkies, they do need a win, and that's definitely something that has to come out of it. So 0-2 isn't a great start. No one wants to be 0-2. Massive game this weekend against the Parramatta side, which I'll be talking about a bit later on. But this is going to be a big week for them. They've still got a good team on paper. Once again, for mine, that back line still needs to be sorted out. It's a bit all over the place for mine, and I still don't think they have the right mix. Once again, my preference would be to have Valentine Holmes on the wing. You'd have Matt Moylan to fullback. You'd have Hodgkins that can come into the halves there. They can probably play a split half, so one's half on either side, so Townsend and Hodgkinson, and just leave Dugan in the centre. That's the sort of way I'd be going at it. But for the Dragons, they just kept going, kept moving forward. Their forward pack's very impressive so far this year. I think with their forward pack, especially when you have someone like James Graham, experience is there. They've definitely got a forward pack when you look, especially on paper, and they look big as well. They're a big pack, and it's going to be moving forward. If they can avoid that little slump that they had last year, they're definitely going to be up there as one of those sides you've got to beat. So, next game to have a bit of a chat about, the Broncos and the Cowboys game. So for this one, you've got, well, first of all, I want to give the goalpost man of the match. Honestly, that was a great tackle right at the end there. Absolutely amazing. So Cowboys, once again, this I don't know what it is with these two teams, but they just continue to produce magic. You don't think it's going to be possible, and all of a sudden they turn up and produce some more magic, which is brilliant to see. JT, I know he was in a losing side, but he just continues to show how brilliant he really is as a player. Why I personally rate him as the best in the game, and probably the best we've seen in the game for quite a period of time, since probably Andrew Johns. Just the way he controls things, the way he's calm. His side fell behind 10 points with about 10 to go, and he just is so calm with the way he does things. And even that last play where they've been stopped by the goalpost, just how he sold himself. You could easily see him going at the back if he wanted to, going to his right if he needed to, but he came, sold it to the defence, popped it to the left. Brilliant way to sell it, and just especially for the younger kids out there, just people wanting to improve their game, just having that so your hands are ready for the ball, that type of thing. He's just an absolute magician when it comes to rugby league, and it's such a good thing to be able to watch him play, especially at the moment in his last year. Just briefly on the Broncos, I did have a bit to say about them so far. I will stick to it, what I have been saying about them. I still think there's a few things that aren't right. I think that's one of the games that they easily get up for against the Cowboys, so it'll be interesting how they go, especially this week, say against the Tigers away from home. Let's see how Bennett controls the media this time. He seems to be pretty good at this at the moment, controlling the media and getting away with basically not saying too much, and where you should be advertising the game these days, he seems to offer very little these days. Let's see moving forward how they go as a club and the season as it goes on. Next one, I have a bit of a chat about. I thought the Penrith South game. This is more so about a talking point that I picked up at the start of the second half. Not sure if many noticed this, and it was a kick-off. The ball went out. they were saying it was the Penrith player actually had his foot out over the dead ball line, and the rule is if you touch the ball, it doesn't matter if you do catch it or not. If you're out, it's going to be a penalty up at the 50-metre line, halfway line. He did all that correct, but upon the replays, we could clearly see the ball bounce before it hit his hand. Now it should have been a line dropout for the Panthers. South receiving the ball now. Those sorts of things are a massive change in a game. I don't care what really people say about it. That's going to always play a big influence on a game, especially at the start of the second half where you just had your team talk. Penrith are obviously up for it to get back in the game, and they couldn't do that. Or they could do that, but they wouldn't have been able to do that as well if they had to do the the dropout after their restart. But for them, that sort of thing, I don't understand why the video ref upstairs, before they've even given the penalty and they've done the kick for touch, can't be in the referee's earpiece and say, look, mate, you've made a pretty big error here. This isn't right, what you've actually done. But let's award the dropout. Let's do it the right way, get the right result. It is a big call in the game for mine. Give South the ball, attacking once again after half time. They could have easily got to a 20-0 lead with that, but they didn't manage that. And my question just is, why can't a referee or the video referee get into the ref's ear with that, especially when the time hasn't started, the play hasn't started again? There's easily a way that the referee could get into the ears of one another and say, look, obviously there's a mistake there. Let's go back, fix that up and move on for the game. But for the Panthers, that Maloney and Cleary combination is continuing to improve. They just continue to be very calm. Cleary is playing like he's 35 years old, but it's definitely the Blues' way moving forward. I think this halves combination is something that they can stick with for a number of years, especially if they stay together at club level. With South, Damien Cook, I think, is one of the form hookers of the game at the moment. He really did a good job, especially around the ruck with the tired forward, especially in such a hot day that it was out in Penrith. But now, the other game I want to quickly have a bit of a chat about was the Storm Tigers game. Benji at 5'8" is doing wonders. Who would have thought? I think in all pre-season they told him he was going to be a 14, come on and play about 20 minutes or so, but he's come back, and an injury to Reynolds, it could have easily mucked up the system, especially after training all pre-season and losing him the training session before the game. But Benji's has come in, calming influence. He's realised, I think, that he can't play with that flamboyance that he used to have, and now he's just really getting in there, supporting everyone, making sure that things happen. Like every time there's a chance to kick for the ball to touch and just regroup, settle down, he does it exactly how he should, and it's great to see moving forward how good the Tigers are playing now. They're definitely one of those sides going to trouble all year, especially so far the first 2 weeks they've had two of the better sides, and they've managed to beat both of them. The Storm showing signs of the Cronk loss is going to be a pretty big loss for him this year. We'll see how they go moving forward, but with Cronk, he would have just calmed them down, I think, a couple of times in that game. I think they were missing that. There'll be a couple more losses for the Storm this year, just on what we've seen from that. They looked a little bit tired as well. Big start to the year, obviously, with some of their trial games and the World Club Challenge, so if they can come back from that, obviously they're definitely a top 8 team, still a top 4 team probably, but can just see a couple of signs there that they're not going to be as good, as dominant as they have been the last couple of years. Now the big game that have a bit of say about, obviously, would be the Manly and Eels game. Now this was absolutely disgraceful from a Parramatta point of view. First of all, full credit to Manly. They dealt with the conditions very well. Cherry Evans led from the front. I've been very critical of him as a player over the years, but look, they're on the front foot, had all the possession, their forwards are going forward. They were doing the basics right, but they just kept turning up and they were there for each other. They obviously came to play, and there was only one team on the day that came to play. Parramatta, I don't know what their thought processes were coming into that game, but they looked like a team that didn't want to be there. They look like a team that have believed their own hype in the off-season, they don't want to do the hard yards to get there and make sure things are happening. I mean, you don't lose 54-0 on a bad day if you're supposed to be a top 4 contender and a contender for the title. It can't happen. When's the last time you've seen a Storm team on their bad day get beat by 50? It doesn't. They'll get beat by 12, 16 points on a bad day, but they'll still be there. They'll still be turning up and doing things, and that to me was just a gutless performance. Something that, as I said, if you're supposed to be up there as one of the top teams, you can't have those moments, and they have. So this week's a massive week for the club. As a whole, they've got to really continue and move forward now and basically reset. Look, it is 0-2. Obviously, it makes it hard to come back from a loss like that, but there is potential to do so. I think the bench needs to be changed a bit to get more forwards in the game. We've talked about some changes that they've made so far for the lineup this week, which do look positive for the side. But moving forward, and as a passionate Parramatta man, I'm expecting a lot this week, a lot of heart to be shown. There was no heart at all in that performance, and you can't blame the Heat because there was a number of teams over the last 2 weekends that have played in some hot weather and didn't put in a performance like that. For this week's game, so I won't go through each game and give my tips. Obviously, last week was pretty diabolical. I think I only got 2 or 3. So, first game is tomorrow night's game, the Thursday game. We've got the Storm and the Cowboys. So the grand final rematch from last year. Big in for the Cowboys is Morgan looks to basically be confirmed to play. He's been named to start. Him back for the Cowboys is massive in. He'll just help fix up some of the plays that they had going and relieve JT a bit of pressure. He was probably one of the best players all year last year, and to have him back for that club would be massive. I can't see the Storm losing though. I don't think they'll lose 2 in a row. They very rarely do. I reckon the Storm will come out and win this. It's going to be the match of the round. This is going to be a very close game. So for mine, the Storm win it close. Have them by winning probably by a point or 2. It's going to be that close. It's going to be a great game. Let's see how JT and Co can come out and wreck the party for the Storm once again, who surprisingly they lost for a milestone game last week. They never do that. But let's see how they come back and see how Croft goes after a bit of pressure this week after the Cronk comparisons. Quick mention again, Friday night we've got a 6 p.m. game at Sydney. I mentioned this last week. I'm not sure what the NRL do when they put this draw together, but it's just an impossible time frame to get to for most fans of any club in Sydney. The last week's game for the Roosters, there was really no one there. It didn't look like there was many fans at all. And this week you got I think the Easter show starts on the Friday. So you've got a Dogs Penrith game, 6 p.m. I don't know. It's going to be absolute mayhem to get there. I guess people going to the Easter show, they can go there straight after the game. But that 6 p.m. time slot for mine is horrible, and it shouldn't be there. And shouldn't be in Sydney. The Tigers-Brisbane game also on the Friday night. We could see Jack Bird return for the Broncos. Now I think it's going to be interesting where they play him, if it's going to be a centre or he's going to go to 5'8". Not too sure with that one, but we'll see how that one goes there. But the Tigers, who would have thought after looking at their draw at the start of the year, I thought they would have probably been 9-3. But they're a chance to go 3-0, and that's massive for that club. Especially, as I said, the teams that they've beaten done so to do that. I think this game you could see them open up a little bit more. They haven't scored that many points, but it's a fair show of the opposition they have been up against. I think this time you'll see a couple more points from the Tigers, really see how they can play. I think the Tigers will win this one, win this by about 10. The Saturday game, so we've got a double header at ANZ Stadium, South v Manly, Eels v Sharks. Got Manly beating South after, especially their performance on Sunday. Just see how they recover from a hot day, and it can have a bit of an impact with the body. So we'll see how that one goes for them this week. But I think they'll be just good enough to take care of South. I don't see another 50-point drubbing by them, but I think they'll get that by about 8 to 10. As I said, it's going to be interesting to see how they do recover from that hot game, and so we'll see Cherry Evans, see what he can do again this week, and that team's just got some momentum now. and it's going to be pretty hard to beat. Eels and Sharks, the other game that clearly want to talk about. Takarangi's out, Brad Takarangi for the Eels. We've got some returns in Kenny Edwards, Bo Scott and Penny Terapo coming onto the bench. I think you might see one or two of them actually start. I think there's going to be some changes to our bench. A couple of players there that really need to change. And for mine, new recruit like Kane Evans hasn't shown much at all. He's been pushed around. He's supposed to be a big body and he hasn't provided that yet. We just need some people there to show some heart, play with some ticker, and I think especially with Edwards, Terapo and Scott, they're the types of players that will play with a bit of heart. So we'll see how they go. I'm tipping the Sharks for this one. I'm tipping against Para after last week's performance. So it's pretty gut-wrenching for a fan to see that. I hardly ever tip against them, but I just think the Sharks are going to be, with their forward pack, still one of the best forward packs in the comp. They're desperate just as much as we are, and I just think they're going to show. They've shown more heart so far in their performances. Yes, they've lost, but they've actually shown that they can play some football where we've failed to do so. The final game to have a bit of a chat about, Roosters and Knights. So obviously the big one, Pearce versus Cronk, Pearce versus the Roosters. I think this one's going to be an actual bit of a cracker. So we're going to have the Roosters showed that they something to gel last week. Knights once again had another win down in Canberra. So Knights, obviously their pre-season has done very much wonders for them as a club. And Pearce is leading the show quite well there at the moment. So this one's going to be a brilliant game. Both teams have some classy outside backs. We're going to see Reece Robinson return for the Roosters. He's been away for a couple of years at rugby. The guy's got some speed. Good winger. So they've lost Tupou, I think, for most of the season. But that's a good replacement to have there. Pretty good, nice when you have some brown paper bags to play with. So that's what sort of depth you can get at a club. But yeah, we'll see how the Roosters go this week. I have the Roosters winning. I think the Knights will get their first reality check this year. Roosters by 8 for mine, but once again, moving forward, I think that's a team that's going to do very well this year. And I see the Knights, after their two performances and watching them play, I can see them being top 8 team. They've just got that right mix at the moment and got some good young hard forwards in there with the experience of, say, Mitchell Pearce and some of the experienced outside backs. It's a good combination they've got going there, and well done to Nathan Brown. He's done a great job so far at rebuilding that club. So good years coming ahead for the Knights fans. But that's it. Just, as I said, mixing up a little bit this time to see how this format works, having a bit of chat about each game. So good luck on the weekend, especially with the tipping, things like that. But I think it's going to be a brilliant game once again. Brilliant round of rugby league. And we'll have a bit of a chat again next week. Good luck to everyone. Enjoy your week.